of Kiahk to you all. Thank you guys so much for joining us today to talk a little bit about the life of St. Mary as well as why we celebrate her throughout the month of Kiahk. Before we get started, my name is Anne Queen and I wanted to introduce you all to some of my friends who go to St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church in Washington, D.C.
Hi, I'm Sophia.
Hi, this is Christina.
Hi, I'm Juliana.
I'm Sonia.
Guys, thank you so much for coming and joining me today to talk about St. Mary. I'm so excited to talk about her and to discuss why in the month of Kiahk we get to celebrate her and her life. We praise St. Mary because she obviously bore Christ to us and is how we came into our faith. So I wanted to start off and talk a little bit about why we praise St. Mary and what we're coming into today. And that main reason that we praise her is for her faith and what she stood for. Do you guys have anything to talk about in regards to how strong she was?
Yeah, so in our church we call St. Mary the Theotokos, which means the bearer of God. So really in the month of Kiahk, we recognize her as bearing Christ incarnate. And, you know, before his birth, we celebrate both his birth and the role that she played in the story of the nativity.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. We often acknowledge her for, you know, being the pillar and being the Theotokos, and we don't always think about how much her faith was tested and how many things she had to go through in what we could call faith milestones along her life. I think the very first milestone that we always visibly see is in the Annunciation, where the angel came and told her that she was going to bear Jesus the Messiah. Would one of you guys want to tell us a little bit more about that story?
So I think that she's definitely worthy of all of the praise that we give her in the Kiahk praises, because from the very beginning she was always submissive to God and she always had her strong faith, and no matter what she was faced with, because she was brought to the temple from when she was just a young girl, and when you're a young girl in a temple, she was probably cleaning up in the temple after all of the sacrifices and offerings. So it's not like she was comfortable or she had an easy life. She was always tested with hard things.
Right, and it must have been scary as a young teenager, like our age, a little younger than us, and she was told that she was going to have a child and he was going to be Jesus, and that must have been really scary for her, and that her faith was tested during that time.
I think that, Juliana, you brought up a really good point of she was in the temple from a really young age. Her parents, Joachim and Anna, took her to the temple at the age of 3 because she was consecrated to God. So from birth, they had known that they were going to want Mary in her life to be devoted to God from start to finish, because they had prayed for her for so long, and she was almost like a miracle baby for them. So when they consecrated her to God and gave her to the church, they passed away shortly after, and so she was spending all of her time with the people at the temple, and like you said, cleaning and so on, but she's also with a group of girls who were learning the Old Testament and learning the practices of the faith at the time. Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that that was a big impact on her life going forward?
For sure. I mean, if you're brought up in a way that you always trust God and you're in this environment with a great amount of faith, she's going to carry that for the rest of her life. And we do see that through all her struggles, you know, when the incarnation does happen, how her faith does not waver. When, you know, she's about to give birth and they can't find a place for her to give birth to Christ, she stays strong in her faith.
Mm-hmm. Christina, what do you think about how much she's probably spending time praying even in her early fundamental years?
I think that since she was basically born and raised in the church, it's just normal for her to do these things.
So continuing on, I think that we've been talking a little bit about Mary's faith, especially during the month of Kiahk. I think that's a time where we talk about St. Mary a lot. But so do a lot of other, denominations, and sometimes they focus on St. Mary. But what we're really focusing on is how she is a gateway to Christ and how her faith is something that we should emulate.
So I think that many people view the nativity as celebrating the birth of Christ, which it is, but it's not just that. We're also celebrating how strong Mary was in her faith, and she was put in through so many trials, and she had Jesus when she was around she was 14. Like, she was really young, and she was raised in the temple alone without any parents. She just had her other girls and her servants and teachers. So I think that she is really worthy of all of the Kiahk praises. And some people might say oh, why are you dedicating all of this to Virgin Mary? Aren't we supposed to be celebrating Christ? Which we are, but we also have to recognize her strong faith for God.
Yeah, agreed. To elaborate on that, I think it's important to not just go through the motions, because you talked about that kind of a little bit, going to church and stuff. Not just going through the motions and just saying the words, but really knowing what it means behind them, and to contemplate her faith and contemplate why we're doing the things we're doing and why we do things differently than other people. I think sometimes people are surprised. We celebrate Christmas a lot differently than others. Every Saturday, going to Kiahk and praising God and all the things that led up to the birth of the Messiah, and how important that is to us. But we're not, going shopping and making Christmas cookies. We are, but that's not the primary thing that we're doing.
Right. I think we get kind of lost in all of the Christmas spirit of the real focus is Jesus and the Virgin Mary and her strong faith when she gave birth to him. I think we should all focus more on that instead of the hype around Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Her faith must have been very strong. She is only 14 and she has to carry a baby. She doesn't know where to give birth. Nobody is there supporting her. Even Joseph was doubting her. So the amount of strength that it must have taken her is very big.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Bible gives us a perfect juxtaposition between how Mary took the archangel's message that Christ was going to be born from her body, and St. John the Baptist's father, Zacharias, when he heard the news from the angel that his wife was going to have a baby, he took it very differently. He doubted even the possibility of something like this happening, whereas Mary, didn't have any doubt when the archangel gave her that message.
Yeah, her faith was unshaken, and I think that that's something we can only strive towards. Sometimes it's, hard to think that that's something you do. I don't think we would really know how we would react if that large of a news was given to us. I think that something else that Christina kind of touched on shortly is she didn't have anyone around her, and you touched on it a little bit too. So I think something throughout the Christmas season to think about is to be thankful about those who are near you. That's also something that societally, around this time of year, is being told to a lot. From Thanksgiving onward, or throughout the Christmas time, the society is oh, be thankful, oh, be thankful. But they're thinking about being thankful for very material things too. They're oh, be thankful for all the gifts you received, and also give other people stuff. Okay, but it's not necessarily about all that stuff. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so honestly, the Christmas time has become really stressful, shopping for other people, getting ready for Christmas time, whatnot. You really need Kiahk to just sit and think about what Christmas is really about.
And I think that everyone, Christmas time is fun, and going shopping for presents is fun, and receiving gifts is just really fun too. But I feel how it's related to how when Jesus was born, there was no room in the inn for him to stay, just like how right now in Christmas, everyone is getting they're kind of clouding the true meaning of Christmas. There's no room for Jesus to come anymore because it's all Christmas music and shopping at the mall and Christmas presents and Santa, and they're all forgetting the true meaning of Christmas.
I agree. I think it's all very, we're not really remembering what the true reason for Christmas, and to be thankful for the blessings that God gave us, and to not be very thinking of all of the stuff that you have and what you want to have. I think you should be thinking about Jesus and him being born for that.
Yeah. Something else that we talked about very quickly was, the songs of Christmas time. And we always listen to like the fun songs like Jingle Bells and, Oh Silent Night and things like that. Those are like the traditional songs, and you have all of the new artists who come out with every version of the song possible. So now you have like 8 versions of Jingle Bells. It's real nice. But a good song to think about that maybe we don't listen to enough, but is one of my favorites, is Mary, Did You Know? And I think that although this is a religious song, this is a song that like everybody knows. Like people listen to it on the radio. It's not just thought of necessarily as a religious song. So they don't necessarily take the time to think about the lyrics. So I think we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but do you think that that small little light of the faith being brought up into kind of the social part of Christmas means something?
I think that from the lyrics of Mary, Did You Know? I think it's really important because Mary, she was raised all around the Word of God and learning about through the Bible and through the teachings and everything. Mm-hmm. So she was always brought up in that way. So I feel like when the angel came to her, she submitted to the angel. She didn't say like, oh my gosh, no, because she knew like that she was part of this big plan that God had for her and for the rest of the world.
Yeah, so I think the moment that the Holy Spirit overshadowed her, she did innately know that she would be part of his plan in a very big way. So when we hear that song, it is a bit of a rhetorical question because, yes, she did know that God had chosen her for a very specific purpose.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're going to continue talking about the life of St. Mary and exactly what she means to all of us. Thanks, and have a great Kiahk season, praising with family and friends.